Hi, beautiful friends. How are you? I wanted to hop on and record a video, not a long one, just a little check-in. I was going to do one yesterday, but with everything that was going on yesterday, if you are watching this as I release it, it was a pretty heated and emotionally charged day, I think, for a lot of people. Regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, I think that as a collective, so many people were in a heightened state of nervous system activation yesterday. Just even opening up Facebook was a little overwhelming. To tap into the energy of that social media space is really intense, and it immediately put out any fire inside of me to post a video. And as I look back, I can kind of recognize that as a freeze response in me, just as a result of absorbing all of the energy that was in that social media space and in the collective energy in general. When I sat down to reflect on it a little bit more yesterday, I received a ton of messages that I just had to write down and sort through for myself. And so I wanted to share a little bit of that with you today. And where I want to start off with it is to reflect on what that energy felt like yesterday for me. And I know it's different for everybody, but for me, what it felt like, and honestly, what it has been feeling like for quite some time, with all of the craziness that's been going on, the words that came to mind for me that I wrote down to kind of describe the way that it felt to me was madness, mischief, and survival mode. What I feel like we've been sitting in and living in for quite a long time now is an endless cycle of questioning, defending, challenging, moving in opposition to one another. And what it started to feel like across the board is sort of like a Dante's Inferno hellscape. And at times, the way that it seems is that it can only get worse. And the reason is what seems to be happening is that fear is being met with fear. Anger is being met with anger. Hopelessness is being met with more hopelessness. And as I sat with this awareness, it really led me to reflect on the fact that that can only lead us in one direction. At some level, it starts to feel like a circling the drain phenomenon. You know, when the water in the tub is getting too low and it just starts to flow even faster down the drain because there's no new water coming in. And in this example, what is the water? The water is nourishment. The water is life. The water is creation energy, the opposite of fear energy, of anger, of hate, of opposition and conflict. So I want to talk about the creation energy part of it, because the thing is, everyone's sort of living in fight or flight these days, moving in and out of that state, meeting one another in that state. And there are certain things that we simply can't do when we're in fight or flight. One of the most important things that's really hard to do in that kind of energy is tap into creation energy, source energy. But that's where we're going to find love. That's where we're going to find compassion. That's where we're going to find hope and renewal. So the more that we spiral, the more that we circle this drain without refilling the societal container with nourishment, with life, with sustenance, the less access that we have to creation energy, renewal energy, and what do we have in its place? Destruction energy. Lately, it seems as though we've been asked to collaborate with an energy of destruction. And at some level, in so many cases, we're moving in ways that signal agreement with the invitation to collaborate with destruction energy. So a really striking question to sit with is, why would we willingly do that? Well, I think one of the reasons for that may be that we feel as though moving in these ways is protecting us. But let me ask you, is it really? Is it protecting you? Is it making you feel more safe? Because I don't think anybody really feels more safe right now. That's why so many people are in fight or flight to begin with. So what is the alternative? Well, what's the opposite of destruction energy? It's creation energy. Like I was trying to use in that example, creation energy is the water that we would be pouring back into the container that allows for renewal, for replenishment, for cleansing and purifying. just using my own nervous system as an example, the way that things felt yesterday made it impossible to think about creating a video. That's a very small example of how hard it is to tap into creation energy when we are sitting in so much anger and fear and conflict and hostility and all of the things. But if I sit with the implications of this on a broader scale, what that small example tells me is that these energies that have been floating around in our atmosphere for quite a while now very effectively interfere with our ability on a broad scale to create, to cultivate, to pour nurturance, to tap into life source energy. And the implications of that on a broad scale is devastating. Creation energy keeps us alive and vibrant. It is the medicine for times like these. And yet, it's the medicine that you have to really go digging for. It's medicine that you can't access unless you very intentionally go seeking it out. It requires a commitment to self-care and embodiment practices, not just when we feel like being spiritual, but when we feel like being destructive. And if I had to boil that down in the simplest sense, what I mean is allowing ourselves to feel the feelings that we need to feel, allowing ourselves to move those emotions through our body in order to make space for new emotional experiences, which sometimes can mean letting anger move through, then allowing grief to move through, then allowing feelings of helplessness to move through. The system can quiet back down and settle enough to clear space for a powerful transition moment. And when I describe this moment, what I want to use is the example of a toddler, not because I'm trying to describe us as toddlers, but because I think toddlers are such a great example of what it feels like to be overtaken by emotion in a really whole and complete way. They're not very good at hiding it. So imagine a toddler who is just having a complete fit, a meltdown. They're scared. They're angry, but they're angry because they're scared, and they're scared because they're overwhelmed and they have unmet needs. And so they throw their bodies on the ground and they kick things and they hit things, right? Well, what we know as parents that can be so helpful is to get down low with them in the heaviness of what they're experiencing. Let them know that it's okay to feel that way, that it makes sense for them to have feelings that are hard, that hard feelings are normal, allowing one layer of emotion to lift at a time as they sift through what it is that they're experiencing on the inside, with your witnessing your attunement as they do so, which really is what enables them to do it to begin with. And what you'll notice is that you'll see their little systems start to settle. And as it starts to settle, there's this transition moment where they look up and meet your gaze. They turn their head from this sort of space to this sort of space. And that transition, I'm just going to call the lightning, because it is a moment where their soul, where their energy finally starts to feel lighter again. It doesn't make everything that happened okay. It doesn't solve the problem that led to their meltdown to begin with, but it is the first step, because the lightning allows for creation energy to enter. From that space, you can create solutions. From that space, you can have really healing conversations. From that space, everything is possible. On a collective level, this is what I feel like we need. We need opportunities for communities, for relationships that support a process of expressing and experiencing, of holding space for, without shame, without judgment, with grace, with love. I'm going to go so far as to say without the goal of even solving any problems just yet. Just meeting each other from a place of grace and understanding as fellow human beings. Allowing our poor, exhausted nervous systems to settle. Allowing our gazes to soften toward one another. Allowing a softer mirroring to be possible. Pouring water onto the fire, allowing us to tap back into our creation energy, to source energy, to God energy, so that we can create, so that we can access the parts of our brains that are not in survival mode, but that are actually really wise and can problem solve and can communicate clearly. I'm not trying to say that any of this is easy. This is very hard work. This is actually harder work than lashing out. It's way easier to kick and throw things than it is to do this sort of work, not just with and for ourselves, but with and for each other. It's almost scary when you're in chronic fight or flight to risk opening and expanding your heart space. It's not almost scary, it's terrifying. But this is what we know helps human relationships and our relationship with ourselves at all levels, from parenting a toddler to couples who are in couples therapy working through an emotional impasse. At all levels of our human experience, these are basic needs that we have, and they apply on the grandest scale. So I guess I'm calling us out. I'm calling myself out. I didn't create yesterday. But this morning I woke up with a really strong knowing that I needed to clear space to ground my energy, to get clear once again on what my needs are, because there ain't no way I'm going to give up on my commitment, not only to myself, but to this community, to my relationships, to showing up and communicating and sharing experiences and trying to pour as much love and care and nurturance back into systems that feel really depleted energetically. I guarantee you, if you're still listening to this, you know that that's part of your role too. And so I send you love. I send you encouragement. I salute and honor you. Please don't give up. Don't stop what you're doing at whatever level you're doing it. Continue shining your light. The world needs you. I need you. I'm sending you so much love. Take the very best care. Bye.